Hi, nobodies. Excuse me. I just got done eating some pretzel combos. Love the pretzel and cheddar cheese. So today I was talking to a friend about translations. And I think I've mentioned it before, like that I don't take the Bible or the Quran word for word as translated because translations are not always so simple. Because you got to think about all the things Americans say. And when a Spanish person comes here and English is their second language, it takes them a while to catch on to colloquial things like spitting image, fought tooth and nail. So when you're translating that, a person who isn't a native speaker, and they hear it or they see it wrote down and they don't understand like the context, they will put it down as that. And the person who's reading it in Spanish says, well, what does he mean by this? What do they mean spitting image? So what a person has to do is they have to understand that and then translate it into the colloquialism of the language that they're translating it into. Or they have to describe it. So it makes it hard. Because, see, like in Turkey, I have a friend that is from Ankara, and she says like a drop from the nose. So if you write that down, somebody's like, mm-hmm. And also when you're speaking and you have to change that to something that somebody understands, you change the attempt. Like, you got to think when you're reading poetry, there's a certain way that the author wants it to sound, the way that they put the words together for impact. When you translate that, the impact may not come through. You might get the meaning, know what they were writing about, but the impact with which they wrote it could be lost because of the way it sounds. Like if they were speaking English, like if they wrote it in Spanish, they might want to say it differently in English for the same effect. And that's why, like translations are tough. And, you have to have, especially if you're doing like older works, like the Art of War, the Quran, the Bible, and things, you have to look at what phrases were they using in that time, what was going on in that time to fully understand what was being said. You have to know your history. And then the biggest problem with translations, you've got a translator who, he could be honest. He could be completely honest. The guy who does the editing, though, might say, this is not going to make the cut. I don't like this. I do this, and I don't like everybody knowing that it's a sin. So we'll take that out. I mean, how do you know that the translators were all good people and that the people who transcribed the transcriptions, how do we know that they were good people? Because even good people, they'll say, I've done that. I can't let people know. Good people don't really like to fess up to bad shit that they've done or whatever. And then when you take greedy people, which chances are rich people were the people who had the money to have it done in the first place, to put it in books and stuff. What are they going to change? I'm not saying that it doesn't mean what it says it means. I'm not saying that it was corrupted. I'm just saying you have to be willing to at least acknowledge that it could have been. Not that it was, but that it could have been corrupted from the original. Because even the Quran, like, um, I had 4 ebook versions of the Quran, 4 different translations. And I would read one and think it meant something, and then I would talk to my friend Mona, who was Syrian, and her dad was an imam, and she would tell me, no, this is not so how you think, and then she'd look at this translation and she'd say, this is wrong. This translation is wrong, and then I'd pick up a different ebook and look at the same passage and say, okay, I think I got it now. And then she'd look at it and she'd say, no, this is not 100%. This is not accurate. So I said, okay, and third one and fourth one, and just always, she was always like, no, this is, when we get past like one section that she was like, okay, this is right. This is right. I would say, okay, and then I'd get to something else that I didn't understand fully. And she would say, no, 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 this is wrong. This is wrong. Eventually she bought me a Quran. She said, this is perfect. She said, this is the one. You read this one. You have any questions you ask me, but I don't think you'll have questions. And so I was like, okay. And I didn't have questions because, it was all about, this was 4 different translations of the same text, and this is just translating what was originally in Arabic into that. Now, the Arabic never changes. So, that's the problem I have with translation. So, and then there's the whole thought that, okay, if I learn Chinese as a second language, just so I can get the full effect of something that's written, I would also, once again, have to know history and know whether or not that person would speak in metaphors, or would they use colloquialisms. I can see it in my head. Like, I can spell it. It's just hard to say. And I hope that I'm using it in the right context. But, you have to kind of know, like, what they would be doing. And then on top of that, my brain is probably going to translate it to English in my head. So I'm going to hear it in English, even though I'm reading it in Chinese. It's a daunting task. I don't do too well with daunting tasks. I like easy. I mean, it's not hard for me to understand what I read. It's not hard for me to, to do a lot of stuff. But when it comes to, I'm going to have to figure this, I'm going to have to do A, B, C, and D. And it's like, that's a lot of work. I'm kind of lazy. So I just want to do A and B, like A, get the book, B, read it. Because once I have it and I read it, I understand it. Because I can figure those things out. I was also telling my friend, if there is such a thing as past lives, I think I was from England. Because I love English stuff. I love British stuff, and like the writing and all of that, it really speaks to me. I'll read stuff from Americans and it's just like, it's okay. It doesn't touch me, Or maybe it's my DNA calling out to me because I'm over 50% British. It's like my DNA saying, come home. It'll never happen because there's like 5 fears I would have, at least 5 fears that I would have to do away with to get to England. Even if I took a plane, that would still be 3 fears. I have to get to the airport, which is getting in a car, crossing the river, boarding the plane. So, and then 4 fears, which would be staying on the plane. I really think they ought to let you sign some kind of waiver that says, I want to be put on the plane unconscious. You know, like, I do not want to walk on the plane. I want to be wheelchaired onto the plane because I am terrified of flying. And if the plane goes down, I don't want to be aware of it. No. Because I'm pretty sure that if I was awake for a plane ride, I would be freaking out the whole time. And God help me, you know, I would be on one where they would experience turbulence. You know it. I mean, I'm already bad enough, you know, about the ground, you know, and like heights and shit. I'm supposed to fly in a plane? And then, you know, if I toss that idea, because they won't let you get on the plane if you're obviously fucked up. Like, just put me in a straitjacket. I ain't gonna hurt anybody. So then there's, okay, take a boat. What if I got, like, motion sickness? Like, what if I get seasick? Like, seriously. That is like a big fear because my anxiety revolves around me feeling sick. I would be in hell for weeks just to go there. And forget me coming back. I would be an illegal immigrant because I probably would not get back on the boat. I don't know. Do you get seasickness after you've conquered it the first time? Like, maybe I shouldn't even get off the boat. Like, if I get to the point where the seasickness no longer bothers me, I got my sea legs, maybe I ought to just stay on the fucking boat and never get off. Just look at things from the ocean. Wouldn't be a bad life. So, things are good. I'm calm. I'm collected. I need to do some research. That's going to be fun. So, have a good night. Try to spend 5 minutes outside of your head today. Somehow. And I don't care how you do it. I mean, if you have to drink a beer to do it, drink a beer. You know, hopefully you don't have to shoot heroin to do it. But if you're already shooting heroin, then do what you do. I hope that you're not shooting heroin. It's not the right way to deal with your problems. No, never mind. Have a good night.